Shalom, Israel. Want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BASHAM, YAHAWAHSHI, BASHAM, Rakah, Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders who teach and rule well at Great Millstone. And peace and salutations and peace and mercy to the prophets, the hopeful elect, the 144,000, and to the men and women of the 12 lost tribes of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Shalom. Back with another lesson. I'll title this one, The Government Shall Be Upon His Shoulder. The government shall be upon his shoulder. And, the Lord, Yahawah, BASHAM, YAHAWAHSHI, he's coming to set up righteousness in the earth, in order. And he's also coming back to deliver the elect, the remnant of his people. And he's going to set up his kingdom right here on earth, right there in Jerusalem. You know, those Israelis in the land, those heathens, those Amalekites that are in the land of the Holy Land in Jerusalem in Israel, those are not the real people. The Lord is coming back to deliver and save the elect out of his people, the remnant, and they're going to be placed back. Israel is going to be overall is going to be placed back in the Holy Land. That land over there, the land Israel, Jerusalem, is going to be right now coming soon. Is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire, by those ICBMs. But that land is going to be built back up again, and it's going to be beautified. And the Lord, that's where the kingdom is going to be. See? And it's going to be order in the earth. And the Lord is going to be present in the kingdom. See? And Israel is going to rule the world, the universe, everything. Going to rule in righteousness. And the other nations, all you other nations, are going to be handmaids and servants in the kingdom. But this government that the Lord is setting up will never be overthrown. It's going to be the best, greatest government that's ever been established. It ain't going to be nothing like none of these world governments. You know, like the one in Washington right now with creepy Sleepy Joe. It ain't going to be no pedophilia. It ain't going to be no sex scandals. You know, it ain't going to be none of this, you can be a he or you can be a she. It ain't going to be none of that. This government will be all men, all men. It won't be no women in this coming government of the Lord. You know, the women ushering authority and having higher rank than men. It ain't going to be that in this kingdom. In this government that the Lord is setting up. It's going to be the Lord, Yahawah, BASHAM, YAHAWAHSHI, the Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And then under the Lord, under the Son, Yahawah, BASHAM, YAHAWAHSHI, is going to be King David. And then it's going to be the 12 disciples. You know, Paul, John, Matthew, and Peter. You know, the list goes on. And then on down under the 12 disciples is going to be the 144,000. All men. And these men, this government they're going to have new bodies. They're going to be able to do the same thing as the Lord, Yahawah, BASHAM, YAHAWAHSHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, the Son. They're going to have spiritual power. They have new bodies. They're going to be put on a whole nother level. This coming government will never ever be overthrown. This is the last rulership of men, and we're in the rulership of the revival of the Roman Empire, because in Daniel it tells you that 4 kingdoms would be set up on earth: the Babylonians, the Medo-Persia, the Greeks, the Alexander the Great, the Greek And then here we are on the Roman Empire, but it's the revival of the Roman Empire. This is it. This is it. And Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, he is in rulership. This is it for man rulership. You have China and all these different nations thinking that they're going to take over in power, that they're the next world superpower. Israel is next. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Call Allah Allahayana wa Yahawah BASHAM YAHAWAHSHI. Let me get to the scriptures. I don't want to make this too long, but the Lord is coming to set up his government, man. Let's go to Isaiah 9. Isaiah 9 and 6. Isaiah 9 and 6, and it reads, it says, for unto us a child is born. For unto us a child is born. Unto us a son is given. And who is us? Israel. Who's that son? Yahawah BASHAM YAHAWAHSHI, the Savior, the Holy Mashiach. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name, see? And his name is Yahawah BASHAM YAHAWAHSHI. It isn't no other names, man. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Now, this isn't talking about the Father Yahweh. This is talking about Yahawah BASHAM YAHAWAHSHI, the Son, the Father of Peace. See? It's Salakia, the Prince of Peace. Salakia. 7. It says, of the increase of his government in peace there shall be no end. See, of the increase of his government in peace there shall be no end. This government is going to be the most powerful, greatest government that's ever been established, and it's never ever going to be overthrown. Never. And order and righteousness will cover the earth, and those that can't get in order, you're going to get dealt with. You know, you're going to get that butt spanked. But, you know, when because all the nations are going to be on a low level. They're going to be regular humans, and people, and the elect, and Israel. But the elect, is going to have that God, complex, man. New body, spiritual power. You're not going to be able to deal. You nations aren't going to be able to deal with this. You're just going to be stripped from power. No weapons, none of that. You won't be able to defeat this. There's no answer. It says, of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. The Lord he's anticipating this, man. The Lord is hasting to come back and to crush his enemies, starting with Esau, Edom, the so-called white folks. He's going to crush Esau, Edom, and right along with these other nations. He's ready to go. He's just waiting on that green light from Yahweh, the Father. You see, call Allah, Yahawah BASHAM YAHAWAHSHI. It says the government shall be upon his shoulder. Let me go to dealing with David. This is going to be our prince in the kingdom, man. King David. Let me go to this is going to be the greatest government that's ever been established, ever. Let's go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel. We got war, men of war, real men. You see, not like your president here in America who's never fought no battles, never been battle tested, or, allowing all type of sex scandals and, these unrighteous decrees. In his government, you could be a he or a she. Because this is what President Biden allows, to be a he or a she. Huh? You could be a he one day and you could be a she the next day. This is allowed in his government and all through America's government and even across the world. This is the type of men that's going to be in rulership in the government of Israel. These Hebrew Israelites, the 12 lost tribes of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. This is who's going to be the type of men that's going to be in our government. You see? It says, 1 Samuel 17:1. It says, now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle. Because Israel, in times past, in King David's time, Israel was at war with the Philistines, man, with David and Goliath, or with the Goliath. And I'm gonna go into that. But it says, now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shocha, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shocha and Ezekah, and Ephesadim too. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. They were setting up, getting ready to battle, and this is when King Saul, was in rulership of Israel. It says, and Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. See, Israel, our men, the Lord is a man of war, man. The Lord is a man of war. We're built on patriotic, real men, battle, man, battle tested. These churches and stuff, they don't go into, they paint a picture of the Lord as some sweetheart and some type of, the Lord is he's a man of war. And the men, the kings, ultimately, and King David, they're battle tested, man. Warriors. It says, and the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. We getting ready to battle against the Philistines. It says, and there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. So he was pretty much 7 feet, man. Over 7 feet, big giant. It says 5, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. Woo, that's a man. That's heavy. A lot of us can't even put that on because it's too heavy. It's real brass, man. It says 6, and he had greaves of brass upon his leg. He had these big brass leg. What do you call it? Like not bracelets, but bands of iron, like brass, man. Bands. Something like this. On his legs. Something that cover his a band of brass, man. You see? It says on his legs. It says, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with the coat of mail, and the weight of his coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. 6, he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. See, he had brass, as far as armory to protect himself. It said, and he stood and cried or Salakia 7. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear head weighed 600 shekels of iron. It said, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. One bearing a shield went before him. Now that staff of like a weaver's beam, those are those, if you Google that, you'll see how big those weavers. It's a big wooden, pole, and it said and his spear head weighed 600 shekels of iron. The spear, it was a long real wood pole with the spear of it, real iron. A typical regular man today, he can't pick that up. You're gonna need about 3 people to pick that up and to throw that. You know what I'm saying? Let me hop over. Okay, let me hop over to due to time consume. It says we'll stay in 17. Let me go to 32 or 31. It says, and when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. 32. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go out and fight with the Philistines. 33. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him. Because Goliath came out, and Israel, they were intimidated. But King David, he was ready to go. And it says, and Saul was telling him, you're not ready to go fight this giant. You're not ready to go fight this man of war. He was underestimating David because David was a shepherd, and he wasn't built like that. It says, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him. See, for thou art but a youth. You're just a young man. You're a kid. You're a child. And he a man of war from his youth. 34. And David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep. And there came a lion and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock. He said, 35. And I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. See, he said, 36. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. King David, he was a shepherd. He said, when dealing with his father's sheep, a lion and a bear came and tried to basically, attack the sheep, and he smote the lion and the bear. How many of us Israelites right now have that type of mentality? If we see a lion or a bear attacking, our dog or, our kid or something, how many of us is going to hop in front of that lion or that bear and try to fight it and try to put it to death? A lot of us is going, your dog, you're going to let that lion tear the dog up because you don't want no peace. But this is the type of heart and desire and patriotic warrior mentality that David got. He said, and I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. 36. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. Their uncircumcised Philistines shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defiled the armies of the living God. And that's what Goliath was doing. He was, pretty much blaspheming and, disrespecting the Lord, man. And David, he got the Ark of the Covenant back too. It says, It says, so David ended up going out there and ended up fighting against Goliath. It says, I'll hop to 47. We'll stay in 17. We'll hop over to 47. It says, and all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not the sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. 48. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistines. So David got the go-ahead from Saul and ran out there to the Philistines. It said, the army. It says, 49. And David put his hand in his bag. He had that slingshot. It said, and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his head, into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. It said 50. So David prevailed over the Philistine with the sling and with the stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. It said 51. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword. He knocked that Goliath down with that stone and put him to death. He ran over there and stood over him. He said, and took his sword and drew it out, the sheath. He took it out, therefore, and slew him and cut off his head. He cut Goliath's head off. And therewith, and when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. David, he took that slingshot, bam, hit him in his head, knocked down that big giant, and Israel was stunned. But they were cheering too. And he ran over there, David ran over there and stood over Goliath, took Goliath's own sword out and cut his head off. You see, in the Philistines' army seen that and they ran. See? It said, I'll hop to 54. It said, and David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. You see? You see that's that patriotic, legendary, leadership that's going to be established in our government in Israel, man. Battling giants. David was taking on lions and bears. See? And then he took on that giant and cut his head off and brought it back to Jerusalem. Call halal YAHAWAHSHI. Let me close out with this. Jeremiah 30 and 10. I'll close out with this. It says, Jeremiah 30 and 10. It says, therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Jacob shall return and shall be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. Israel gonna dwell in peace, man. Israel, these Hebrew Israelites, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, we're gonna dwell in peace in the kingdom, man. We're not gonna be touched. We're gonna rule the earth and we're gonna rule the world, everything in righteousness, and we're gonna dwell in peace and live in righteousness, man, and be holy, and never have to struggle or be hurt. None of that ever again. Our kids are going to be well taken care of. We're going to be the richest, the greatest, most powerful, holy people on earth, man. You see? Call halal YAHAWAHSHI. This is the kingdom to come. This is the government that's going to be set up on earth. Shalom.